Thank you for tuning in to Lynn Community Television's Candidate Forum with candidates running for Ward Councilor in the 2021 City of Lynn election. In Ward 2, the candidates are Elizabeth Figueroa and incumbent Rick Starbird. In Ward 3, the candidates are Coco Allensuk and George Mimiteus. And in Ward 4, incumbent Richard Colucci and Natasha Madri.
Hello and welcome to LCTV Candidates Night. I hope everyone is having a great day. Today we are going to hear from candidates who are running for Ward Councilor. But first off, how is everybody doing? Oh, they're on mute. But I'm your host, Mukala Kabongo. News director here at LCTV, Lynn Community Television. And we got a list of hard-hitting questions for our candidates today. I hope everybody viewing will get the responses that they are hoping to hear from all these candidates. So, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to join us, and we can get this started. All right. First, we will start with Coco. I'll be working my way around, so each question someone new will start. So, Coco, you will get the first question. If you had to pick 3 pillars to your platform, what would you say they are and why?
Pillars.
Yes, pillars.
So first and foremost, I would like some of the questions I might ask for of clarifications because English is not my main language. So when you talk about pillars, probably my understanding is what are basic problems within the ward that needs to be discussed. As I went along in different precincts, I probably talked to a lot of people who have various issues and concerns within their precincts that goes with potholes, trash, signage, and all that stuff. But I think the major concern really is the smell and the stench at Kings Beach and Lynn Beach. And I know we've talked about this so many times with a lot of people. And I know I don't want to reinvent the wheel because there's already discussions and conversations about this. And all I want to know is to be updated and where and how could I be of help in future conversations.
All right. Thank you, Coco, for that. All right. We will be moving on. Next, same question to Natasha. And just a reminder to all the candidates, you do have 90 seconds to respond to each question. So 90 seconds, and you can go ahead, Natasha.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having this forum. I just want to say that first. I know a lot goes into producing this, and it's so important to have the voters have the opportunity to get to know the candidates. So I think it's by far really important. The top 3 issues for me are affordable housing, safe neighborhoods, and increase in voting. So to start with affordable housing, I really feel like people are being forced out of Lynn. And for me, affordable housing is a really important issue. That's the most important thing that I hear when I'm at the doors. People are concerned that they can't pay their rent, that they're going to be pushed out, and that they're going to have to leave the city they've been in for so long. That's number 1. Safer neighborhoods, it depends on which area of the ward I'm in, but a lot of people are complaining about the crime in the neighborhood, the drug use, just not feeling safe. I know for myself, I want to make sure that my kids are safe if they want to go to the store, and safety is a big issue in the community, especially crimes that's been happening recently with break-ins with cars and things like that. So we need to do better to know our neighbors and make sure that the crime is taken care of. And voting is number 1, really, really important. The lack of voting in our city has to be addressed. We need to encourage more people to come out and vote. In the primary, I know it's just the primary, but only 10% of people voted in Ward 4, and it's ridiculous. 10% of people should not decide anything. We need to have more people come out and vote. We need to make it more easier for people to vote, and just constantly just encouraging people to vote, because we had to fight for this right and we cannot take it lightly. Voting is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, for that. Rick?
Thank you. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you for hosting this. I think in person's a little bit better, but we'll take what we can get. I would say my three pillars would be public safety, public works, and public education. As Natasha said, people need to feel safe. They want to feel safe in the neighborhoods, and they want to feel safe in the neighborhoods they go to, whether it's go downtown to get dinner or, go to a show, be in their own neighborhoods, have their own property protected, and feel safe about that. Make sure that, they want to feel comfortable that their kids are safe in the streets. And the only way that we can do that is by making sure that public safety offices and departments are fully staffed with the right equipment. Public works, it goes without saying, sidewalks, curbs, trees, and all. One of the things I think that are most pressing for us is our education and our schools and how overcrowded our schools are. Presently, almost 17% of Lynn's population is enrolled in the Lynn Public Schools. There's no community around us that has such a high percentage of their population enrolled in the schools, and our schools are overcrowded, crumbling, and we must find ways to replace them.
Thank you, Rick, for that response. Up next is Mr. Richard Colucci.
He needs to unmute, Rick.
Can you hear me now? Public safety, housing, and DPW, the work. What I want to know that we hired 55 new police officers in 2 years. As far as affordable housing, I did a lot of affordable housing, whether Rich Colucci in Union Street, all the single family homes, they're all affordable housing with owner occupied people. With 700 Washington Street, that was mine as well. Well, a lot of affordable units in there. And on the Herbert Street, 50% of the 8 units are affordable housing. So I'm doing what I can for that. There's another project coming up in Silsby Street. We get 5% affordable housing going there. And as far as the DPW, we just hired a person downtown. I talked to Mike Pertino, and we get this vacuum cleaner coming tomorrow. It's a vacuum cleaner, graffiti remover, and a hose to sweep stuff up. It's coming tomorrow with DPW. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to continue. Thank you.
And thank you, Rick, for that. And Elizabeth, your turn.
Thank you so much for your invitation for this forum. And actually, even though it's like Rick says, it's kind of nice seeing in person, but this is what we get right now. So pretty much housing is one of my pillars, which is affordable housing, the safety nets, affordability, and also accountability and public safety. That goes hand in hand also with a clean environment. So is pretty much an overall with many concerns that we've been hearing from our people in our community, which because our wards is divided a little bit different. So we all have in each ward something, concerns and needs are different. So accountability, because I really want to be able to be representative, and serve the community that we serve, the community that we have right now, and the residents that for our community be transparent and our as being essential, be a person of transparency and through the community and working with all members. And also another thing that I didn't mention is working with the business owners, small business owners that we have in the community. We need to have a better, be more accessible for that and be more supportive. But as it goes along and more the questions are, I can probably, give you more extensive response about public safety, accountabilities, and public housing, and the clean environment as well.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And we will move on to question number 2. And this time we will start with Natasha with this one. Right. What are the top 3 issues you hear about from residents of your ward, and how do you plan to address them?
Absolutely. So thank you for the question. I hear the top 3 issues, like I said already, the top 3 issues that I hear when at the doors is people that are complaining the trash. The trash in front of their houses. So many neighbors have to keep constantly cleaning the trash, especially if they live near a store. Then people just walk by their house and throw trash right there. I think one of the solutions would be to have more trash cans available throughout the city. We can tie like trash cans to poles or something just to make it, because if people have nowhere to throw the trash, they're going to throw it on the floor. So we need to make it more accessible so that that doesn't happen, especially in front of convenience stores. We should make sure that we have trash right outside those things. Yeah. So trash, I hear complaints about noise. I hear complaints just about just that we don't have any ward meetings in our ward, so nobody knows what's going on. So it's a really big, important thing that we need to know, like be more aware of what's going on in our city. Thanks.
Thank you for your response, Natasha. Rick, you are next.
Thank you. Three things. So,
Yeah,
we all get the typical calls, the roads, the sidewalks, the trees that need to be trimmed, wires down, things like that. Trash is definitely a concern. We've got a couple of big parks in Ward 2, being Keeney and Cook Street, and we do multiple cleanups there every year, and the trash comes right back. Yesterday, I was up meeting with Community Development and DPW as we're looking to put some funding into the Cook Street Park. We just cleaned that up not too long ago, and barrels are there, and it looks like we never touched it. Other issues in Ward 2 are those motorbikes, particularly around Lynn English High School. I've been in touch with the law department, the police department. We're putting a committee together that's meeting on the 26th to look at what other communities have done to establish new ordinances to really go after those guys so that we don't have to deal next year the same way that residents have had to deal with it this year.
Thank you, Rick, for that response. Richard?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think like public, the potholes, and we're doing this with repaving streets. I repaved more streets in Ward 4 than anyone in the city. Trash, downtown Lynn is a mess. I've got the DPW, the health department citing people. It's hard because you cannot legislate morals. But we have that street register coming downtown in the next week or two. They'll be making an impact. It's hard, but we're going to keep working on it. It'll be a good thing at the end.
All right. Thank you, Rick, for your thank you, Richard, for your response. Elizabeth?
Actually, I hear a lot of concerns about clean environments, the area, the parks, that we don't have like much places to entertain the kids or being able to public places. And the places that we have, they are not in a good conditions, the one that we have. Also, people not complaints, but they concerns about our sidewalks. The sidewalks, the structures. We have like averages that we've been doing in the past, planting those trees, but now those trees are become humongous. So our sidewalks, they become like uneven. And that causes people can getting into an accident, or the accidents happens. Me myself, I actually encountered one of my walk-ins around in the community. I just hit myself and just doing that, and it's just because of uneven sidewalks. So making sure that National Grid, when they finish up that work, actually as well will be fixing those pavements. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the things. Also being people concerns about not knowing who to call when they need something, be more accessible. Sometimes they don't know who to reach with their concerns. A lot of people feel that they're not being heard because of that, or they don't know who to look in order to to bring their concerns to the community. So besides also the hiding of the property taxes and paying a lot of money for the trash. So they feel that they are investing more than what they gain in return. So that's part of some of the concerns that people are brought it up to me.
you for that. And lastly, Coco.
Thank you, Mukala. I know I touched base on this on my first question, but I just want the Ward 3 people to know that I, as a candidate for Ward, they are my utmost priority. So any concerns and problems within the Ward will be my priority. I'm also aware about what's happening in the city, and that's also important for me to know. I'm always a team player. I would like to see somebody, an intern who will represent Ward 3 in City Hall. A lot of Ward 3 constituents don't even know that there's a staff for Ward 3. I know there's a lot of students that would like to do that and have that experience. I would love to see community involvements. I'm a team player. I'd love to see and talk to them because every month there's always concerns in every precinct, and that needs to be addressed as a team, not by your city councilor, but as a team, because at the end of the day, it will benefit all of us in the ward.
All right. Thank you, Coco, for that. All right. On to question number 3. We are moving along. You all are giving some great responses, and we all enjoy this. All right. Rick, you will start with question number 3. How do you plan to effectively communicate information to residents of your ward, and how do you plan to effectively hear from them?
Well, the first thing I did when I was first elected was I spent about $3,500 of my own money, sent out a mailing to let people know how to get a hold of me. I set up a website, set up a email chain. I have sent out a monthly newsletter every single month since I've been elected. I think I just sent out number 46 or 47. I also send out periodic updates during the month, letting people know if things are snow emergencies, or I can dial it down by neighborhood. If there's a water main break, and alert people, let them know, hey, the water's going to be off for 2 hours in this particular neighborhood. I've had the police reach out to me because they know I have this network that they can say something's going on, ask people to stay in their houses. We had an issue with a gun up at Walmart in Salem, and I was able to dial that down to people that live in those neighborhoods. We have semi-monthly meetings, Ward 2 meetings. We've had just about every department head in the city come. I think my outreach is like no other in the city, and my neighbors, my residents are the most connected.
Right. Thank you for that response. Just to repeat the questions, if somebody did not hear the question was, how do you plan to effectively communicate information to residents of your ward, and how do you plan to effectively hear from them? All right, Richard, you are up next.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Rich, we can hear you.
Okay. What I do is I have a database. I get phone call, I get people's numbers. I send letters out. I inform them what's going on. They call me. I have a good relationship with my constituents, and I always do what they want me to do. That's why I get reelected. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Richard. And just tilt your camera down again, Richard. There you go. All right, Elizabeth, same question for you.
Oh, actually, that's a good question. One of my plans in the part of the platforms that I have, that's part of the clean and green environment, which is actually, I would like to see an upgrade to our City Hall website, and also to be able to connect with building an application. So like in the same way that you can have an application to pay your bills, or, connected with any other sort of companies, we can also integrate an application for the City Hall. So we can actually have that application connected as well with DPW, connected with the police department. And so we can actually get the resources directly from the City Hall, instead, being like, ourselves with so much responsibility and stuff that we have to do, because we also as well are community members, but be more efficient in that way. So having a website and application that will be also bring revenues to the city so they can sustain themselves. So with that application, can probably have like a minor cost, like for year basic. So people can also, contribute to the website and upgrade. So that's one of the ways. And for people who doesn't have an upgrade, or the ability to use a computer, Also making, having meetings in a monthly basis. Also have multi-language, translate documentations in letters in a different language based off our populations that we serve.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Coco, you are up next.
I love this question, Mukala, because my work title is Outreach Manager and Community Engagement. So my colleagues will kill me if I don't nail this one. But my experience with community, I will totally apply this to my ward. I'm always all about best practices. I would probably talk to some city councilors and ward councilors, if elected, what are good practices for them to communicate with their constituents. Councilor Starbird is effective with his newsletter. I'll probably apply those, and it's not something unique to me, and something unique to Councilor Starbird. Councilor Hogan is always there in the community all the time. That's the best practice for him. And also translating, as what Elizabeth mentioned, we have materials that needs translation. As somebody that speaks different languages, I probably speak 7 languages, I could apply directly and communicate with constituents that need that assistance. But definitely all the materials needs translation, because a lot of our residents here don't even know how to go to City Hall and talk to people.
Thank you, Coco, for that. And Natasha, you're up next.
Thank you for that question. I also love that question. It's so important that we are able to communicate with all residents of the ward. And I think part of the problem is we don't currently have ward meetings. So we need to at least have 1 meeting a month. I would like to start with 1 meeting first and then move on to 2. But I really like Rick's newsletter idea. Like, I think it should be a newsletter in every single ward. I really think that's a fabulous idea. Have the newsletter and have that be consistent. And I definitely believe that newsletter needs to be translated in different languages, so that we need to be more responsive to our community so that everybody feels included. So that's really important. So the newsletter is key. Also, to what Elizabeth said about the website needs some serious updates. We need to really look at the website and make sure that it's easily accessible and that you can easily find out things. So when there's an event going on, we know about it, that the whole community knows about it, so that we can come out and support everybody that wants to be a part of these different events that are happening. Because there's so much going on in our city. And if you don't have access to the information, then you won't know about it. So the information is key. That is key, making sure that we have translation available on the website, in newsletters, and all forms of communication, because that reflects our city. And that's super important. Communication is key to success.
Yes, it is. Communication is definitely key, and we all know that for sure. All right. We are on to question number 4. We're halfway through this. We are doing well. All right. Richard, you will start off question number 4. The question is, some issues transcend wards, and it's the duty of the whole council to address them. So let's talk about the water quality issues at Kings Beach. What is your take on the situation, and how would you address it?
I believe there's going to be some COVID money coming to do some work on there. I'm having a meeting with some people from Kings Beach. They called me. I'm on the Water and Sewer Commission. So I'm going to have a meeting with those folks on the November 8th. So it's an issue, and it's been there for years. It's Stacy Brooks goes down through under Eastern Ave out to the ocean. It's some sewers that weren't hooked into the regular sewer system, drain into that brook. So it's a problem, but it's gonna be remedied, I believe, because it's getting a lot of heat right now, and we can take care of that, I think.
Thank you, Richard, for that. Elizabeth, you're up next.
Questions will be related to just the work for, or generate the response based of our.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You want me to generate the questions related to our concerns in our ward, or it's just directly as well? You just mentioned.
Just directly, just directly. Yeah, just in general.
Oh, okay. So I'm very focused about the safety and the cleaning environment. So the cleaning environment is actually one of my major things, and we need to become green. So, and we have to have more sustainable green energy for ourselves. I think I'm very in favor with the solar and electricity versus because that's part of the concerns that we have in our ward. You know, that's also benefits with the rest of the city. Instead, dealing with the maybe with different kind of system environment. So I don't know. I basically, it all depends what is the need that we're talking about. I'm kind of a little confused about the questions. And so that's why I cannot give you a correct response.
All right. Hey, can you guys just make sure your mics are clear, because there was just a bunch of noise right there. All right. We are, Coco, you are up next.
Yeah, that again, I mean, I wish all the questions are laid out probably 15, 20 minutes before this forum, because some of our answers goes from one question to the other. I mentioned during the first question that we should not reinvent the wheel. I know there's already a task force provided because there's a lot of participants involved with this issue. You know, the town of Swampscott, the city of Lynn, the state of Massachusetts. So it's important that our state delegations, from Senator Brendan Crichton to Representative Lori Ehrlich, who's been talking and having focus groups. And in fact, there's even Zoom calls discussing about this. So again, there's no point of reinventing the wheel. There's an issue, and I would like to acknowledge the residents of the area who put themselves on being proactive, having conversation online, on social media, and having input from other participants as well. So it's really important as city councilors to be actively involved. I know this is a Ward 3, Ward 4 issue, but I'm really glad that you answer these questions, because at the end of the day, we're all one city and we're all involved with the welfare of all the residents of this city.
Most definitely. Thank you, Coco, for your response. Natasha, you are up next.
Thank you again for the question. Yeah, the beach is definitely a concern. And like Coco said, like, we just need to work together with the state and federal. We need to work together, like, with the communities and the projects and the people that are already working, so they already are working on this. And what we need to do is let more of the community know so that they also can get involved with theyese groups. Like Coco said, they're having Zoom meetings. So what we need to do is show up. And if we show up and the Zoom is broken because there's more people trying to log on, that's going to be noticed, right? So we just need to come there and really show that we're concerned, like, as a concerned citizen, like, we still have a say, like, this is our city. And we don't need, like Coco said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just look at other cities and see what other cities are doing and do the same thing. We just need to make sure our beach is clean and it's safe. It's one of my favorite parts of Ward 4, like the beach area. It's beautiful. And we just need to make sure that it's well taken care of. And there's no excuse, like, why it's not. And I know it's a work in progress, but you know, we just need to all be involved. So just put the information out there on the city website so more people can know how to get involved. And that is how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
All right. Rick, you are up next.
Thank you, McCullough. So there's a lot of variables with that pipe that runs out, that outfall pipe at Kings Beach. There's a lot of runoff that runs in there. Stacy Brook runs in there. The drainage system at Buchanan Bridge behind 2 Victory Road runs in there. Whenever we get heavy rain, I'm always there with rakes cleaning out that grate to make sure that the pond doesn't overflow. But it's a monster pipe that runs down Eastern Ave and exits out at Kings Beach. There's a lot of Swampscott tie-ins into that, which adds to the problem. And that's what adds to the raw sewerage, because Lynn had the CSO project back in the 90s for Eastland. So the runoff and sewerage was separated. So that's not sewerage coming from Lynn households. And another thing that we need to always be conscious of, and I put this in my updates all the time when we're experiencing heavy rains in the forecast, is to get out, clean those storm basins out, and watch what's going down there. Because what goes down into your storm drains is what comes out at the end of an outfall pipe. So you got to watch out. You got to make sure that the streets are clean, storm drains are clean, and we got to be cognizant of what's going out of that outfall pipe. Lynn Water and Sewer just said last night that they're working on a solution, and hopefully they have one sooner than later.
All right. Thank you for that. All right. We are going on to question number 5. And we talked about communication earlier, and this is a communication question. All right. We're going to start with Elizabeth with this question. How would you work with residents in your wards, the school committee, and the mayor's office to address the need for new schools?
Well, it's like I say earlier, I'm sorry, accountability, also accessibility. It's a big part. We need to find a way to build that bridge. So between public, with how we can public advocates for the community. Our communication have to be hand in hand, with all the people of the city, as well with our constituents, and as well with our other councilor for the other wards. It's pretty much the translation is a big part when it's become between the community and the government service. So translation is a very important key in there, and it's pretty much just be in communication and collaborate and in making meetings and having those meetings, attend those meetings, and make those meetings available to everyone. Just not being like quietly, so everyone can attend and be able to communicate and be part of it.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. Coco, you are up next.
I really, really like this question because it's really important to have that communication between not only with the council, but everybody who are doing service to the city. As what Rich mentioned, there's a big amount of money that is coming to the city, and it's really important for us to really set our priorities. It's not that only ward councilors will try to outdo themselves just to get a big chunk of that money for their wards, but really to sit down and probably have a retreat, probably have a whole or 2 days retreat. It's in a place where the mayor, the school committee members, the city councilors will sit down and say, we are a team here. What is our priority? And always the top of the priority is the school. When you talk about school priorities, what areas in the city that need help, a big help, and need a new building for that school. So again, communication and to set our priorities and having that thorough discussion and move from there.
Thank you, Coco, for that. Natasha, you are up next.
Thank you, McCullough. Do you mind repeating the question one more time, please?
Yes. The question is, how would you work with residents in your wards, the school committee, and the mayor's office to address the need for new schools?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, we definitely need new schools. The schools are like busting at their seams. So they're overcrowded right now. And with the fact that we have new development coming into our city, it's just going to increase even more. Because to say that these new developments, because they're so expensive, they're not going to have kids is not a reality, because they are going to have kids and more kids will be put into the system, and we need to advocate to make sure that we have more schools. Like, it's a huge issue, like communication, getting more schools. Like, we need schools. Like, that needs to happen like yesterday, because we're already out of space. Like, the schools are already overcrowded. So this needs to be addressed. We need to make sure that we get whatever needs to happen to make these schools happen. This needs to happen. So I would advocate to make sure that we get more grants and that we do whatever we need to. It has to be a priority. We're getting a ton of money coming in for the ESSER funds and we need that. School buildings has to be a priority. We just need to make sure that we build new schools, because else I don't know what we're going to do if we don't have schools soon, because the schools are just overcrowded and we just need to do better. So yeah, so communicate. You're a parent out there and your kid's in an overcrowded classroom, please just like put some pressure out there because we need these schools. Like, we just need to advocate for it. It needs to happen like yesterday. So that's definitely something that I would advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Rick, you are up next.
Thank you. You know, when we did the Marshall Middle School, I was on the school committee. We ran regular meetings. We ran a campaign. And because of the way that we were open and transparent about the new school down on Brookline Street, 80% of the voters voted in favor of that school. Now, when it came time to do the two school project, and we do not just Pickering, we desperately need a Westland Middle School as well. But when that time came, things weren't as open and weren't as transparent. And some people felt that things were being stuffed down their throats. And I think that showed in the vote. Now we're back to Pickering School. I was asked to sit on the school site committee for the new Pickering School, awaiting the mayor to start scheduling some meetings for that. Fortunately, the city's finances have improved to the point where we don't have to go out to bond or go out to a vote to build a Pickering school. But we need to be building more than one school at a time. We've kicked this can for far too long. We cannot do one school every 20 years. And we need to have 4 or 5 schools in the pipeline right now. And you know, we got to get Pickering going. But again, there's major gaps in West Lynn where there's no middle school. And when you live, I grew up in Neptune Towers. And when you live in Neptune Towers or in the Brickyard, the closest middle school for you is up on the Saugus line at Breed. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. We need to do better than that with our middle schools. And we had a chance to do it. We didn't sell it right, and it failed. We can't let that happen again.
All right. Thank you, Rick, for that. And Richard, you are up next. Unmute yourself.
How about now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. We all know that we need schools. Can you hear me? Hello? All right.
We can hear you, Rich.
So we all know we need schools. I was talking to Mike Pacino yesterday. We got the paperwork in for a new middle school. We just don't know where we're going to put it. It's you know, Lynn is a little, you know, land strapped, as we know, but we're going to keep going. We need schools. We know what happened. Marshall Middle School is overcrowded. English High is overcrowded. Marshall's overcrowded. We all want schools. That's a no-brainer, and we're doing what we can to do it. Thanks.
All right, and we will go back to the person we started with, and Coco with question number 6. All right. Can you please share your vision for future residential or commercial development, if any, within your ward, and what role the still fairly new planning department should play? And I know some have touched on this topic in their earlier answers, but you can elaborate more now with this question.
So there has been new developments happening just probably a couple of weeks ago, and I know that the council and the Lynn Planning Board okayed it, and then it's really important to have that participation from everybody, your constituents, and listen to them. It's important also to know what are their thoughts about things. We want to make sure that there should be implementation and carefully attended, and make sure that it's all okay with the constituents in your ward. Housing also is an issue in several areas of the city, and that needs to be involved with all the wards concerned.
Thank you, Coco, for that. Natasha, you are next.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, so for any new development that would like to come into Lynn, what I would like to advocate for, I would like to see exclusionary zoning. I want to make sure that at least 20% of any new development is affordable. So 20% should be affordable. We need to have CBA agreements so that that means the community benefits agreement, so that the developers aren't just making all this money without giving back to the community. So we need to make sure that if we're going to have this development, that they're also giving back. I'm against having them have tax breaks and things like that. We just need to make sure if they're going to be making all this money, they need to also be given back to the community. Now, before anything is approved, it needs to go through a process. It needs to go through a planning board, and they need to investigate and make sure everything is good. We need to look at the parking. How is parking going to be impacted? How are the schools going to be impacted? Because these new developments will also bring children, and we can't say that they won't. We also just need to make sure that we need to have a public hearing to make sure that everybody gets their voice heard about these new developments before they are approved. We just need community output and input on everything. So that in particular, because that's going to affect people. How is the traffic going to be as a result of these new developments? And when is enough enough? Because pretty soon they're going to be kicking all of us out. And that's part of the reason I left Boston to come to Lynn, and Lynn is becoming Boston, and we just need to stop it now because we're just headed down a dangerous road. So I would advocate to make sure that people who were born here are not being forced out. And that is like key. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Rick, you are up next.
Thank you. Just to clarify, Makala, this was related to development in our own wards?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ward 2, for the most part, is a very densely populated ward. There's minimal commercial space in the ward. So we don't have many stores. We don't have many restaurants. We do have schools, and we do have, one of the largest parks in the city. But we also have some lots in single-family neighborhoods that are less densely populated. And this new housing plan that recently passed identified lots in some of those Ward 2 neighborhoods as possible sites for multifamily affordable housing. And I've put that out to my Ward 2 constituents, and they are dead against it. And that's one of the primary reasons I voted against it. People pay a premium to live in neighborhoods, single family neighborhoods, so their kids can play on the end of a cul-de-sac and all. And to drop some of these developments into the middle of those neighborhoods is just not right. We need to be smart in how we address affordable housing. We need to be smart in how we address all development. I don't believe in inclusionary zoning. I believe that we should be getting money from developers to put towards whatever impacts, whether it's put money in a fund by Lynn Housing Authority to hold, to come up with money for first-time home buyers, like they do with some of their other programs, money towards fire stations, money towards schools. But I do not believe in inclusionary zoning. I do believe in creating more affordable housing, particularly for our seniors, like we've been working on up at the former Union Hospital site, like we just did with the former Marshall Middle School site. That's affordable housing that we can take care of today without negatively impacting our schools.
Thank you, Rick, for that response. Richard, you are up next.
Well, I just want to go back in history a little bit. Little Caesars on Union Street, I was involved with that, changing the zoning. Now that plaza's there. Walgreens on Union Street, I was involved with that, changing zone. Now Walgreens is there. Omar's building, Lucille Wine, beautiful building now, commercial apartments upstairs, commercial on the first floor. Also, I was the one that the ordinance to have housing above the buildings downtown Lynn. And you see 300 or 400 units in housing right now. So I was very proactive in doing this stuff. And then this building on Silsby Street, there'll be 5% affordable housing at my request. The guy didn't have to do it. I convinced him to do it. I'm there for the neighbors. I'm there for the people of Ward 4.
All right. Thank you, Richard, for that. And Elizabeth.
Well, in the sense of these developments, because they are not going to stop in sort of way for more that everything is going to continue. But one of the things that I'm saying is like the new developments should be more including affordable housings, for the, to the current residents that we have right now, not people that come in, from outside. So in that way, we can work with the population that we already have in place right now, instead growing the population. Also, the new development should be created, should be not creating a segregating our residents or our contingents. Also, making sure that in the short or long terms, those projects does not affect directly or indirectly and cause displacement for the rest of the, for our cities, our people, our city members right now. Also making sure that the new developments in the city and any, they make sure they pay taxes on, and if we're going to enter in any type of an agreement with them, that also can be benefit for the well-being for the city, not only to themselves. Revise and review also the already contracts that we have with them in the city, but as well the new ones that are coming, they are planning to enter. Consider also to get an advice for ADIC, also planning for the planning department, to the law department, and votes, for something that are actually in consensus that is definitely going to be a best interest for the city.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that response. And all right, on to this question comes from a community member, Andrea Gail Bennett. This one, we will start with Natasha with this question. So her question was, if you received $1 million grant to use for your ward any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
$1 million. That is a great question. So if I received $1 million grant and I could do anything I want with it, what would I do? I would definitely build some sort of community center for like the young adults, because I feel like we don't have that in our ward. In particular, like my son, he's 14, and like his friends, they don't have anywhere to go. So like, I think that would be like a really good investment for Ward 4, to have some sort of place where kids can go and hang out in a safe way, and maybe hang out, play video games, and just things like that. So I definitely think a community center would be really, really key. For the young adults. I would also love to build, I don't know how far $1 million would go, but I would love to also put some of that money towards a senior home, because we need to have a permanent senior home. Like, our elders are being ignored, and we need to have that place for our seniors. It's like super important that we need to take care of our elders, because they've given back to our city all their lives, and they should not be having to fight for a senior center to call their own. That's just not okay. We need to do better by our seniors as a whole. So I want to make sure that the seniors are taken care of, and the youth as well. So the youth and the seniors are probably the two things I would use the money for, to make sure that they have a place to call their own. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, you are up next.
Thank you. Well, $1 million does not go very far, as I'm finding up at Cook Street Park, with the money that's being allocated up there. But if I had $1 million that was given to me to spend in Ward 2, a good chunk of it would go up there, because I think it's such a cool space. I invite everybody to go up there. We've had Ward 2 meetings up there, where we bring everybody up to see it. People don't even know it exists. So that would be one place, because it is a great place. And another place is down at Keeney Park. It's one of the largest gathering points in the city. So many sports play down there. To be able to add to the playground equipment down there, possibly a splash pad, and I think just those two sites in themselves would gobble $1 million up in a heartbeat. I wish we had more to say, oh, we want to take care of this street and this street and this sidewalk, and the open, brook behind Linton Road, where Stacy Brook lies open there. I'd love to see that buried, but that would cost millions. So being realistic, I think I'd split it up between Cook Street Park and Keeney Park.
Great. Thank you, Rick, for that. Richard, you are next.
$1 million? I'd parlay it in the lottery, double it. Now, Lincoln, I'd like $500,000. I'd rather half of that for the youth program and the youth jobs at the city. I have so many kids looking for summer jobs and I can't find them the summer jobs. So I'd put some of that money to summer jobs for kids, and also for downtown Lynn to clean it up so it's more accessible, so people won't be sick of going down and looking at the trash. That's the two things I'd like to do: summer jobs for the kids and clean the downtown.
Thank you, Richard, for that response. Elizabeth, you are next.
Well, some of the councilors already respond part of my ideas that I had. Also, a big community center or an entertainment center we don't really have like entertainment in our ward at all. And our parks are ripping in pieces. So I will invest that $1 million. I know it's not a lot of money, but basically I will be utilizing for the parks and environments and as well for an entertainment center. So the youth, adults, families, anybody can attend, and making sure that entertainment center have a pool inside, indoor pool.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And Coco?
Okay, 1 million is 1 million. I love this question. This is where a COCO administration will look like. I would like to empower my community, my neighbors, and the people of Ward 3. I'll probably call for a summit. We'll all meet and listen to them. Hey, we have $1 million. What are we going to do with $1 million? Because like what I mentioned in my opening answer is in each precinct, there's issues identical to that certain areas of the ward. So I really want representation. We'll have our own voting during that summit, and whatever the votes will be, the result will be our result as a collective effort. But if you're asking me a specific question, for specific answer for this question, I would say, as not to influence the summit, I would say Kylie Park, because everybody's mentioning about parks, right? I've seen all the parks in Lynn. They're way advanced, modern. In fact, if somebody fell off one of those seesaws, we'll bounce back because there's like padded things in the area of the park, not in Kylie Park. And we need to do something there. It's so old school. They just put those, pebbles or whatever wood. If a kid will fell off there, it will just stuck there. So we really need to invest money for there. And I've been telling people that in that area, that will be one of their priorities, and also cleanliness as well. Maybe get another one of those vacuum sucker machine and kids going backwards and clean up, maybe loan it to other wards as well.
All right. Thank you, Coco, for that response. All right. We are at question number 8. Then we will start with Rick with this question. Okay. So it may be premature to talk about City Council subcommittee assignments in 2022, but if you had your choice, can you name a subcommittee that interests you most and why?
I serve on many, but I chair the Public Properties Committee. And when the council president assigned that to me, he looked at my business experience. When I took that committee over, I started identifying public-owned properties, some that were taken through tax foreclosure, found that we had people living in homes for 10 plus years that had been tax foreclosed, were dilapidated and falling down. And we immediately by working with the committee, the treasurer's office, the law department, put a plan in place to get movement on those things and get people out of them that shouldn't be there, that are squatting in them, get them sold out to bid. Many went to first-time home buyers. We just had one on Michigan Ave that was probably one of the worst homes I've ever been in my life, with a woman who had mental health issues, was a hoarder. We got that house, got her services, had her put in housing where she's all set. We were able to put that house out to bid. Lynn Housing Authority was able to buy it. They rehabbed that house. I went through it the day before the closing. They sold that to a first-time home buyer who lived in Kerwin Circle, who through their first-time home buyer program was able to accumulate the money for the down payment, and it is a true success story. Through selling off these properties and doing the right things as chair of public properties, we were able to bring millions of dollars into the city coffers at some of the worst possible financial times for the city. So I would like to remain as chair of that committee and continuing serving on the committees that I serve on.
Thank you, Rick, for that. Richard, you are up next.
I'd like to, well, I'm on the public property with Rick. He's doing a fine job, I want you to know. I'd like to chair the ordinance committee if I could, because in the ordinance committee, you could make some laws and change things like we did, I talked about before about downtown Lynn, the zoning changes and stuff like that. So I'd like to chair the ordinance committee if someone would let me do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard, for that. Elizabeth, you are up next.
Well, I actually would like to have like a social service committee, and also would like to invest. I don't know. I would like to be part of a community, like community improvement department. Like, I'm not sure exactly how many committees do we have right now. I know they are varied that we have, but I would like to continue. I would like to be part of the housing committee, and also the social service. I don't have experience because I have never been a city council before. However, I'm willing to learn and willing to just to navigate which one is the more meaningful, and so that way I can provide my service to the community.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for your response. Coco, you up next.
Yes. When I made my announcement to run way back in March, it's always a habit for me to watch old videos of the city council subcommittees, trying to educate myself about issues and concerns and how the council works. And it's really interesting because you learn. Sometimes people assume you know everything, but it's always a learning experience for me. And watching those videos, yeah, I see you all the time, Rick and Rich. I learn a lot, and maybe could picture myself and how I could contribute to those subcommittees. And I think I'll join with the public safety and public health because that's my forte. Some people don't know this. I'm one of the 10 people who are part of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine original protocol. When COVID came, we just dropped everything with our work with HIV vaccine and just focused with COVID. So I have that experience in the medical field, and I think I will have a lot of contribution if I'll join that subcommittee. I do have other lists. In fact, it's so interesting. Last week, I wrote down all the subcommittees I could picture myself being a part of. And one of them is education and housing and licensing. And there's also the Lynn trash litter. It's also a subcommittee, which I don't think why it became one. It should be a major committee in itself because Lynn needs cleaning, as in really cleaning.
Thank you, Coco, for your response. And Natasha?
Yes, thank you for that question. So I would say the Housing and Elder Affairs Committee, for one. I think that would be super helpful, because housing is definitely one of my key things that I want to work towards improving. And then the elder services, like I spoke of before, I feel like the elders are not getting enough say. We need to make sure that their voices are being heard. It's so important because they, like I said before, they've given so much to our city. We need to make sure that we advocate for them and that their voices are being heard. So it's super important. And as well as the education committee, education has always been a key important thing for me because I'm a mom of 5. And so education to me has been very important, just to make sure that we get more parents involved and just we advocate to bring more parents to the table, because that's very important as well, because parents have a key stake in their decisions for their children, and they are very important. So yeah, so those are some of the committees that I would be very interested in joining. I'm also interested in the government committee as well. I'm probably going to want to hear more about all the committees, but those are, I think with my law degree, that would definitely be something I would be interested in as well. So I'm interested in being on more than one committee for sure. So 2, maybe 3. But yeah, the committees are just so exciting, just to that's where all the work really happens behind the scenes. So that's definitely something I would be interested in doing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have time for one extra question. We have time for a bonus question. And I'm sure this
It's like Jeopardy.
it is. So this question is a little more loose. So this one we'll start with Richard. Can you highlight a person, a moment that ultimately inspired you to run for public office?
My lovely wife, Carolina.
Just like that. Shout out to Richard's lovely wife. All right.
She's Dominican, by the way.
Okay. Elizabeth, you are up next.
Well, if it's only one people, I don't think so. I only have one people. I have multiple people who inspires me to run for an office. First, I'm a mom of two young kids, two young men. One is 29, another one is 22, and they show me, how can be a perseverant person. They really are inspires me. And I feel very proud to have them. They accomplish a lot, and we see each other in the mirror every day. I also, if it's a public person, if we talk about public person, Obama is one of the persons that I admire a lot, and his wife as well. So I actually feel like, very inspired when I read their books and actually follow up on their policies and how dedicated they are for the community. So it's just an inspiration from outsiders, but also from inside of part of my family too.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. Coco?
Ooh, I'm a crier. I'm an emotional person, but I have to control myself when answering this question. It's not a person, but it's persons. It's my family. In 1996, when I came to this country, I am the fifth generation, supposed to follow the footsteps of my dad, who is a politician in the Philippines. I'm the fifth generation, so which means my grandmother is a city councilor. My great-grandfather is a councilor. My great-great-great-grandfather's councilor. And my dad is a vice mayor. So all of his children are now in the state. So nobody is following their footsteps. So it ended with my dad. So when I decided to run for city councilor, I called him and I called my family and told them I will continue the family tradition, but it's halfway around the world. So, but the tradition of family service and the tradition of community service is there. So I'm bringing the legacy of my family here in Lynn, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Coco, for that. All right, Natasha, you are next.
Thank you so much. So the moment that I decided, this is what happened. So one day I was sitting at a PTO meeting. I'm a mom of 5, so I've always been really involved in my children's school. And one day I was sitting at a PTO meeting at Cobbett Elementary School. And I remember saying that I wanted to have a park for my kids to play in because there was no park. And the principal said, oh, well, we can't have a park because that's going to bring drugs to the neighborhood. And that really just I was just upset by that. I was just like, well, that's not okay. We need to do better. Like, oh, it's too expensive. And so they were saying how we need to go talk to the people that are downtown. Well, who are these magical people that are downtown? Oh, you're talking about the city council. And at that moment, I decided I was going to run for office and I wanted to be in an elected position so that we wouldn't just be talking about these magical people that are downtown. These are going to be people that are in the community and easily accessible, people that you can reach out and call, normal, regular people. And so at that moment, that's when I first decided to run for office. I ran for school committee twice, was unsuccessful, and then ran for Ward 4 because I feel like in my particular ward, so many people tell me they stop voting because they're not being represented. So they're like, why should I vote? It's nothing is ever going to change. And we can't, that's just not okay. I want to be a different kind of counselor. I want to be the counselor that you can call on the phone. That's why I put my phone number out there and all the literature I send out. It's not just a fake number. It's my cell phone number. I want to be that person that you can call and reach out to, and I can get back to you. I might not have all the answers, but I can definitely find somebody who can help you. And that's what the kind of counselor I want to be. And that's what inspired me to run for office. And it saddens me to see the lack of interest in voting. I really encourage you to come out and vote. It's so important. So I'm asking you, please vote on November 2nd. We need change in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. And last but not least, Rick.
Well, thank you. It really wasn't a person as much as it was perspective, and what I felt the need for unique perspective and my perspective. When I was teaching at Lynn Tech, where I taught for 14 years, I had made the decision I needed to get back to my business on a full-time basis. So I had already made a decision to leave. As that was happening, they started closing some programs at Tech, particularly Machine Shop, which is jobs all over. I looked around at school administration. I looked at the current school committee at the time, and there was nobody with technical education experience on either. They were relying on consultants and everything else to drive their decisions. So I decided to run. I ran against all incumbents with the Lynn Tech mission in mind. And I was successful in that my first time out. I served 3 terms on the Lynn School Committee. We got the machine shop open. If anybody has been down there, it's just doubled in size. They're killing it down there. We got a lot of other things done at Lynn Tech and really put Lynn Tech on the map. It hit the point where I felt that my Lynn Tech perspective wasn't so important anymore. I would always be involved. I serve on multiple boards at Lynn Tech. So I always felt my Lynn Tech perspective would always be out there. I looked at the city council, I looked at development in the city or the lack thereof, and said, we need somebody with business experience. And that's what prompted me to run for the city council. I ran for councilor at large, was not successful, was perfectly fine sitting back, as my wife was very happy with me sitting back, but decided to run for Ward 2 when that came out.
All right. Thank you all for your responses. Thank you all for being participants of our forum. Thank you to all those out there for watching this year's forums. And not to mention, we have more forums coming up for everyone. On Monday, October 25th, we have the school committee forum. And on Wednesday, October 27th, we have the mayoral candidate forum. And also, do not forget, we will have an election night results special on November 2nd here at LCT, at Lynn Community Television. So please stay tuned. Keep watching Lynn Community Television. Visit the website, lyntv.org. Go to the Facebook page. Tune in for all your election coverage. I have been your host for this forum, Mukala Kabongo. You know, they're telling me you guys have to do closing statements. So, closing statements. I do this every year, too. I do this every year. So, we will get closing statements. And we will start we'll just start from the beginning and we'll work our way down. Coco, you go right ahead with your closing statement.
Thank you, Mukala. First of all, I'm grateful to Ward 3 residents who showed up for September's primary election. Because of your support, we won by a healthy margin. Since I made my announcement to run for Ward 3 councilor, I never stopped. I attended all candidates' forums and debates. I never ducked a question, even though sometimes I don't get it, but I research and learn something about it. I meet people in groups. I attended endorsement interviews and replied to any questions asked. By attending all these forums, I'm showing to all voters of Ward 3 that I am serious and sincere with my run. Look at the people attending now. I am the only one for Ward 3. It's always been like this. I don't pick and choose where to go and when to go. I treated everybody and everything fair and square. If elected, you will see my face all the time. I'm not somebody that would only show up during election. I strongly believe that as city councilor, we are all public servants and we serve you. We need to be accountable. We need to be reachable and we need to be visible. My track record is crystal clear. I have served the city with all of my heart and will continue serving regardless of the result of the election. I'm running for Ward 3 councilor because I love the city and I want the people of Ward 3 to have a seat at the table with me. Please don't forget to vote November 2, Tuesday at Thurgood Marshall School. Poll opens at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Coco, for your response. Natasha, you are next. And just reminded you have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
Thank you so much. So thank you to everybody who's watching tonight. Again, thank you for Lynn Community TV. Thank you for hosting this event. It's so important that voters have the opportunity to know who their candidates are and who their councilors are and what they stand for. It's so, so important. I love that you're having this event. I love that it's in different forms on YouTube and live. We just need to get out in the community. So again, my name is Natasha Madri. I've lived in Lynn for the last 23 years. I am married and I have 5 wonderful children. They are ages 14 to 25. I love my children very much and they inspire me every day. The reason that I'm running, because I want to help to bring more voices to the table. So many people feel that they're not being represented in our city, and I want to help to bridge that gap. It has been far too long. And if you look at all the candidates running for office this year, like it just warms my heart, not just the ward councilors, but councilor at large, the school committee, like everything. It's just so important that we have some more diversity on the city council in particular. I want to be that voice. I want to be the voice, help to bring your voice to the table. It's so, so important. Please come out and vote. I can't stress enough how important voting is. I believe that Ward 4 can turn out and we can do better than Ward 1. And I challenge you, if you live in Ward 4 to go out and I want to prove that we can have a higher turnout than Ward 1. They have counted us out, but we are not out. We count. Every single vote will count. Please go register. I mean, not register because it's too late now. Please go vote. And when you go vote, bring somebody with you. And then when you go home, bring somebody else because it's so, so important. Ward 4, we can do this. We got this. Please, if you need me, please call me 617-755-3853. I will be there and I will pick you up and take you to the polls myself. I am committed to being your counselor, and I just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Rick?
Me or Rick?
You, Rick. You're up next.
Well, thank you, LCTV. Thank you, McCalla, for hosting this event tonight. Again, I'd prefer it to be in person, but it was great to hang out with everybody's little squad tonight. I've been in Lynn all my life. I've been a homeowner in Ward 2 for 25 years. I raised my kids there, product of the Lynn school system, as are my own children. I have an unmatched record of constituent service by serving 6 years on the school committee, 4 years on the city council. I think I've set a new standard in communicating with constituents through my website, rickflynn.com. If you don't get my newsletters and updates now, go there, get connected tab. You can also see my last 15 newsletters that went out. Again, I'm very responsive. I get calls. I can deal with them on the fly during the day, sometimes within minutes. My website is integrated to my email, to my phone. So no matter what comes down the pipe, I get it immediately and forward that right off to whatever department that would address that situation. Again, I'd appreciate the support on November 2nd, vote down at St. Pius. I think when you compare experience, commitment, and investment to the city of Lynn, I think you'll find that I'm your candidate. So thank you again for hosting this event tonight, McCalla and LCTV, and it was great hanging out with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for that. Richard, you are next.
Hi, I'm Rich Colucci. Can you hear me? I lived in Lynn my whole life. I grew up in Lynn. I went to school in Lynn. I don't have any children because when I was younger in my 20s, I'm going to put this out there. I had some radiation, so it caused me to have a problem. But I love the city. I love all the people. I do what I can for these people. They know it. That's why they reelect me, and I won't let you down. My phone number is 781-953-7970. Call me if you need me. Thank you, and vote November 2nd. Thanks. And thank you guys for hosting this.
Thank you, Richard, for that. And last but not least, Elizabeth. Unmute yourself. You're on mute. You're on mute, mute. Yeah. Elizabeth's on mute. We can't hear her. Yeah, you're on mute.
I got this all the time. I be talking to myself. You hear me? I be speaking to myself. Oh my God. So, all right. So I'm sorry about that. Oh, thank you so much for the invitation for this forum. I also appreciate the audience who actually has been listening to us. I'm a passionate person. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm advocate person. I'm actually raised two kids who went to public school, and I'm a part of the community. I'm a homeowner for the past 7 years, and I'm committed to my community. One of my goals is to make the community stronger so we can build awareness to our culture and basically our cultural wealth and our community itself. I'm deeply convinced that we can also do a better community with a proper judgment for our community. I'm very passionate advocate for the social justice and for in seeking to improve the life of the working families and our diverse community that we have. If you guys are share my vision, I invite you all to please consider me as your candidate for Ward 2. And just together we can lean together. We can do this better for us. You also can connect with my email. We can contact me to info@elizabeth for Lynn.com. You also can go to my website. You can call my cell phone number. You can anything that you want to communicate to me, you go to my fan pages. I have Facebook, I have all of them. So please go vote on November 2nd. So we count with your vote. And don't forget, we need to do this, and we cannot do this by ourselves. We need to do this together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We can win it together. Have a blessed night.
Thank you all for that. I guess I'll do the closing again because every year I do this. Once again, just to remind everyone, we will have more candidate forums coming up in upcoming weeks. We have the school committee candidate forum on Monday, October 25th at 7 p.m. The mayoral candidate forum on Wednesday, October 27th at 7 p.m. Election night results special here Tuesday, November 2nd at 8 p.m. And for the other candidate forums, we encourage the public, if you have questions, please send us questions at Lynn Community Television. Email us, send us to a Facebook page or the website, the info. If you have questions for the candidates, give them to us and we will ask them at the next forum. So you guys have been watching the candidate forum, candidates running for ward councilor. I have been your moderator, Mkala Kabongo. Hope everybody have a great night and thank you all for watching.
Question,
Yeah.
if you could, please, 'cause we're under
Okay.
crunch time here. Thank you, Mr.
All
Field,
right.
Council Field.
Thank you, Chair. Quick question. Now, this is all mandated work by the federal government, correct? So
Correct.
there's no decision for us as a community to say we don't want to do this.